Ayy, look, yeah, ayy. I'm in the lab like Dexter, brand new batch he tested. I'm with all the extras, don't try and bitch, I'm pressure. I'm the type to step on steppers, I'm the type to step on steppers. I'm the type to step on steppers, I'm the type to step on steppers.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the New Media Podcast. I'm your host, Ya. We hope you enjoyed the last episode because, as always, today's going to be an even better episode. I got the whole crew with me. Everybody's in the house today, and we are just a couple of days removed from Super Bowl Sunday. The final game of the season had just wrapped up, and of course, we're going to be here to talk about that, give our key takeaways from that game. We might also give our input about Rihanna's halftime performance. So before we jump into all of that, temperature check, how's everybody doing today?
Man, this is a game that we were waiting for all season. Man, it's been a grueling, long season. If you're a Packers fan, if you're a Vikings fan, it ended short and sweet. And if you're a Seahawks fan, same thing. So,
we go into the offseason with, great position, great draft picks. Some teams, y'all still got his great offense, but some teams quarterbacks going.
Are you sure?
Some teams quarterbacks going on a retreat this Friday, and he still doesn't know what his decision is. So I feel like two other teams in here got a good, position going into the offseason.
I don't know about all that for that guy's team. I don't know about that.
Oh yeah, I don't know about the bottom team, but he doesn't have a guy going into retreat thinking about if he wants to come back and play football.
He has Kirk Cousins coming back.
I'm fine with that. Right now, you don't even know your quarterback situation, man. You're Aaron Rodgers. The report was he was supposed to go on his retreat yesterday, and next thing you know, he's on the new latest episode of the Pat McAfee show. That guy, man, he's consistent with that. He never misses a Tuesday.
Man, he was taking shots at Ian Rappaport and what's the other
guy? Adam Schefter.
Yeah. Like, those guys
are bored.
Fake stuff talking about, he's already 2 days in, talking about he hasn't turned on the light and everything.
Who is their sources?
He was like, man, if you talk to these two guys, you're not part of my inner circle, and he kept it pushing. So
who do they know?
Yeah, who do they know? I don't know where they got the information from.
Yeah, he kept it short and sweet, kept it real. But yeah, man, we all started, week one together, and now we're finishing off the season together. We all ended up on the couch, regardless of when and where we did. But yeah, man, let's go ahead and jump right into this game. I feel like there's a lot to unpack with this one.
Where do we even start?
Actually, wait, hold on. I didn't even mention the score. The Kansas City Chiefs won the game. They won the Super Bowl 38-35.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I think, we picked them to win. Some other guy he wants to go against the grain,
That
it was looking good. Looking
real good, but Andy Reid and Mahomes, man, I'm always gonna put my money on him. 100%.
Of course, Patrick Mahomes is the.
Let's break down the first half though.
Of course, Patrick Mahomes is the MVP, right? There's no question about this. He's a Super Bowl MVP, but to me, a unit that was a close second was that offensive line. Like, the Kansas City Chiefs offensive line was absolutely ridiculous, just downright ridiculous. You're going up against a rush that had 70 sacks, that were third all time in the NFL in sacks, right? And they didn't allow one sack to Patrick Mahomes.
First this season as well.
That's absolutely ridiculous. And, they have played pretty well all season long, but to put in this type of performance in that type of game, is a testament to how good they were. And then, of course, Patrick Mahomes. This guy, at some point, it just feels like it's too inevitable. Like, it's just, it doesn't matter. Like, you cannot go against this guy. Coming into this season, everybody was talking about, the Chargers are in his division, the Raiders in his division. And then you go outside of that, you have Josh Allen, you have Josh Allen and the Bills, and you have the Bengals and Joe Burrow, and you have all these other teams, right? Patrick Mahomes loses his star wide receiver in Tyreek Hill. He just comes to the season with Juju Smith, and he comes to the season with MVS. He gets Kadarius Toney midseason. Of course, his all-reliable Travis Kelce. And that just doesn't matter with this guy, Andy Reid. It just doesn't matter. He got it done. It's crazy to me. They had 13 minutes of possession. 13 minutes of possession, and he still put up 187 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like, that's just crazy to me. And then I do want to say, Jalen Hurts, he was criticized by me, and I'm pretty sure y'all had his reserves about him. And, there's a lot being said about Jalen Hurts in terms of, is he going to be able to throw the ball? We know how talented he is as a runner, but is he going to be able to throw the ball? And he made some huge throws. The AJ Brown throw, I don't know why people are acting like he just randomly threw. He put it in a perfect spot where only AJ Brown could have got it. There's the Devontae Smith pass, multiple connection with Dallas Goedert. I don't know how many times where he got out of the pocket and he just found Dallas Goedert. He found it on his rollouts on third down were just phenomenal. And I felt like he played a great game, but at the end of the day, you're going up against a guy in Patrick Mahomes, and he just got the job done. He's simple as that. Like, these guys were down 10, and it just felt like momentum was on the side of Eagles. And then, Jalen Hurts had that little play where it was a fumble, and then they bounced right back. That was, to me, a testament to how good this guy is. They just bounced right back as if nothing happened. And then, the Chiefs, after that second half, they woke up. They just could not be stopped on any possession that they touched the football. It just felt like no team was able to really get to the quarterback like as much as they wanted to. I feel like the Chiefs probably did a good job, which is a credit to the linebacker. I forgot his name, something Bolton.
Nick Bolton.
That guy, yeah, he was everywhere.
He was everywhere.
He was everywhere. I mean, I think he had 9 tackles. He had the scoop for the touchdown. This guy was just all over the place. And, my hats off are to Jalen Hurts. I think this game solidified in everybody's mind that this guy is a franchise quarterback and they can win a Super Bowl with him. He just did everything he could. And again, this is a bigger discussion about mobile quarterbacks. I don't know why people don't understand. Like, if your quarterback isn't a quarterback that can get out of the pocket, it's a disadvantage in today's NFL. Just having quarterback. I mean, one of the biggest plays of the game, the Patrick Mahomes run down the middle. I mean, with a bum ankle. That's the power of having a mobile quarterback. But Patrick Mahomes, this resume that he's just built up, it's just fake. It's so fake. Like, there's no other words to put it. It's just you couldn't have written it any better for someone to start off their career with. And all hats off to him, and of course to the Eagles. We got treated to a great game.
Man, phenomenal game, man. But looking at the time, we had the ball the most in the first half. I feel like 20 minutes to. I'm not too sure how much it was to the Chiefs. If it was either 8 to 10 minutes. They barely had the ball in the first half, but Mahomes not being
probably less than that, honestly.
I think it was less than that. They scored 7 points off a defensive touchdown. They only have 14, and Mahomes only had 1 touchdown that first half. It was looking spooky, very scary going into that second half. But man, Andy Reid came back. Him and Mahomes cooked something up, and they scored 24 points in that second half. And to me, the key points we talked about was if the Chiefs O-line can stand that defense, that front seven, and they protected Mahomes. He did not get touched in that pocket. He was perfect especially after he got hurt and he came back. He played perfect in that second half. He really didn't miss any passes. He had 6 rushes for 40 yards. He wasn't touched, and that goes to the O-line, protecting them against the number one defense that had the most sacks in the league this year. So that was one key point. And Jalen Hurts, can't say nothing much about him, man. He proved the doubters wrong. 370 total yards, threw for 300. Had 3 rush touchdowns, had another pass touchdowns. He hit all of his big targets. And I felt like this game was just a giveaway from the defense. We've seen this defense play phenomenally well all year long. They were always, making turnovers, making sacks, being in the backfield, forcing, third down conversions, not to make it to fourth down, playing big. But yeah, that Sunday, man, to me, there was a no-show. First half, it was fundamentally sound for them. Mahomes wasn't on the field much due to their offense keeping them on the field and that defensive touchdown from the Chiefs. But second half came around, it was a whole different story. These guys were mixed up. They let the same play happen twice, once to Sky Moore, once to Kadarius Toney, and it's back-to-back end zone, same yardage, same 4 yards, and same exact play, but they just run it on the outside. And they picked that up. I've seen a film on the Jags doing that. Their old Andy Reid's old disciple, Doug Peterson, he was doing that against the Eagles early on in the season. Same play, they ran it twice, and they scored twice on him. So, run it back again. Andy Reid, he just outsmarted Nick Sirianni. And I feel like, Jalen Hurts did everything he could, but that defense gave him a lot. There's guys like Fletcher Cox, Hassan Reddick that we're talking about. Guys like, James Bradbury making mistakes in the end of the game, like a holding call, that. Darius Slay was nowhere to be found. So there was a lot of guys, I'll shout out C.J. Gardner-Johnson. He was everywhere. He was making big hits, but to me, it was just big letdown from that defense. But shout out to the Chiefs, man. Mahomes building this resume. Kelce was a little hurt second half, and he found Juju for a lot of big plays in that second half. Juju had no catches the first, came into the second half, had 7 catches for 54, 55 yards, and it helped him a lot. So, he got involved, and Andy Reid turned it up as well. But that defense for the Chiefs, they played great second half as well. No one gave up what? 10 points?
Something like that.
Something like that. And they kept them in the game. So, great game. I loved it. Sad that football's done. We don't get to see football for another 6 to 7 months, but Mahomes on the path to greatness.
Isaiah Pacheco as well. He like
Isaiah
that's a
Pacheco, man.
the Chiefs
He's
like
got
rushing attack. They're not a volume like rushing attack, but like they're super efficient. Like this guy,
Pacheco's
well,
physical though, man.
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. He runs
He's an
crazy.
aggressive running back.
Yeah, it's like a pinball. He goes in, he's just going crazy. So, he actually had a good day though. 76 yards.
15.
Yeah, touchdown.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah,
Solid day.
got himself
Solid
a
day.
touchdown. For me, of course, I'm gonna go ahead and say that we watched a great game. If we wanted to, we couldn't have scripted a better game for the Super Bowl. We wanted two of the best teams in the NFL just going at it, very, very high scoring. Refs not necessarily getting involved too much, but I feel like we only got that for 58 minutes, and I'll go ahead and get to the end in a little bit. But to speak about the first half and the second half for the Eagles, first half was pretty much all Philly. They had everything going. They controlled the time of possession. That's something that they've been keying in on all season long is, extending long, making drives long, extending drives, making each and every drive 7-8 minutes long. So that way, you don't give your opponent the ball with so much time to work with. And they did a great job by taking the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands in that first half. Jalen Hurts, for me, he played a perfect game, and I'll get to him and Patrick Mahomes a little bit later. Even with him making a mistake, coming out of that turnover and going onto the field again, calling on his own number once again to run the ball, running the ball and trusting himself and ending that drive off with a touchdown. Just goes to show what type of quarterback the Philadelphia Eagles have on their hands. For anybody that had their doubts about whether or not Jalen Hurts is a franchise quarterback, I feel like all of that talk has been put to rest with his recent performance. Personally, I didn't have my doubts, but that was a topic of discussion coming out of that Niners game, the NFC Championship game, whether or not the Eagles can trust Jalen Hurts with his arm and his talent to win you a game, to win you a big game. And I feel like he did everything he could. And to speak about this defense, they did a great job in the first half. In the second half, when the Kansas City Chiefs had the opportunity to adjust and tighten some things up, that Gannon guy who just got hired by the Arizona Cardinals just could not do anything to stop the Kansas City Chiefs. And for a team on the defensive side of the ball that's been so great, for them to be that poor in that moment, it's just been embarrassing, and it hurts. If you're a guy on the offense, if you're Nick Sirianni, that hurts because you did everything you possibly could to win that game. And if you put up 35 points in the Super Bowl, that should be more than enough for you to win that game. It should be more than enough for you to win any game in any week. But that's what happens when you're going up against Patrick Mahomes. I ended up picking the Chiefs just simply because I knew if I went against this guy, I'd be proven wrong. And so I had to avoid all that. And I've had a bad track record this entire postseason. So I had to stick with Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes. And for Patrick Mahomes to come back, after getting banged up, tweaking his ankle, being in pain on the sideline, to have that phenomenal second half the way that he did, this guy's setting himself up, to be one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever witnessed. We were able to witness Tom Brady and his career, and I feel like now 5 years into Patrick Mahomes' career, we're seeing something special. We're seeing the makes of the greatest of all time, and him and Travis Kelce. I said it in our predictions episode. Those guys somehow, some way, always find a way to connect with each other in the postseason. And what happened on the first offensive drive for them when they scored a touchdown? It was a pass play to Travis Kelce. You can't write that. You can't script that. That's just something that's going to happen. You just guaranteed in life. Death taxes and a Patrick Mahomes to Travis Kelce touchdown in the playoffs. And now I want to go ahead and get to that. That holding call that happened on that very, very last drive for the Kansas City Chiefs that pretty much sealed the fate for the Philadelphia Eagles. It's the right call. You call that play. You throw that flag in weeks 1 through 17 of the season. You throw that flag in the wild card weekend. You throw that flag in the divisional rounds. You throw that flag in the championship rounds. But in the Super Bowl, with the game on the line like that, and with the way this game was going, we had an all-timer on our hands. This is one of the greatest Super Bowl performances we've ever witnessed, and we had everything written for us. We had the Chiefs had an opportunity to go up regardless of whether or not that flag was going to get thrown, and we all wanted to witness Jalen Hurts step back out onto the field one more time and march down the field and try to either tie the game and send it to overtime or give the Eagles a chance to win their second Super Bowl, I believe 5-6 years. But I just feel like we were robbed out of that opportunity. if you're not gonna throw flags throughout the entire game, yeah, there was a couple of flags here and there about hold. It wasn't not necessarily holdings, but like false starts and offsides and all that stuff. That's fine. But you were basically let these wide receivers and these DBs play aggressive throughout the entirety of the game, and you similar to what happened last year between the Rams and the Bengals, where the refs just let these guys be aggressive with each other up until the very end of that, up until that very last drive for the Rams. It was pretty much the same thing between the Eagles and the Chiefs. Like, yes, it's a holding call, and you call that at any time, any week, but you just don't call that if you're not going to be consistent throughout the entirety of the game. Because you're telling me guys were not holding in that game. There was a play where Bradbury pretty much grabbed Juju's armor. They didn't even throw a flag on that play, but all of a sudden we come back and we're 2 minutes left in the game, and you're throwing a flag that can pretty much decide the fate of one team pretty much winning the Super Bowl and losing. I just feel like that we were robbed because
I mean, I don't know. Like, I feel like the Eagles aren't looking at it like in the Eagles' mind. They're not looking back and thinking, it came down to that play. I don't think the Eagles are looking at that in that type of mindset. Like, even if guys like Jason Kelce, and I know they're a humble group, but a bunch of them came out and said like that's not the play that they're gonna look back on. They're gonna look at the entirety of the game and how they played, because they were controlling this game. The game was in their hands, right? Philadelphia Eagles aren't gonna sit there and think, if James Bradbury doesn't hold there, we win the game. Well, no, they're gonna think, well, if we had played better in that second half, if our defense had shown up, that play doesn't happen, right? That Juju play doesn't happen at all. If Mahomes doesn't run up the gut for 25 yards, that play doesn't even exist, So I feel like, yeah, I mean, even the play about Juju and Bradbury the first time, I mean, it was too slight for me to even, for a ref, honestly, to even see that, because it's kind of like his arm was a little bit pinned, but it was just like too slight for the refs to even have a chance of seeing. I feel like that was a legitimate call, and I think it excuses the Eagles too much for their play in the second half, their defensive play. I feel like that second half, that was really on them, and I don't think it's a matter of it comes down to that play and you change the entirety of the game. It was just a matter of, the Chiefs were dominating that second half, and in my opinion, they were rewarded with that play, and that's the play that capped it off for them.
I agree, man. Because at the same time, it's like you're getting torched that whole second half, and then you get to that play, and Juju already beat him off on that play. So for him to say, for them to reflect on Isaiah, that's that play that lost us the game. To me, it's not. I know to them, probably it's not either. That defense, they know that second half they got torched. Regardless of that play or not, they were going to get scored on, even if it was a field goal or not. But at the same time, it's like they got to step it up that second half. If they performed the way they did first half, that outcome wouldn't have happened.
No, I 100% agree with you guys. And the Philadelphia Eagles, their players came out, and of course they didn't. Speaking of James Bradbury, the guy who committed the penalty, he came out immediately and said, "Yeah, it was a holding call," and I was hoping that the referees would just let it slide, and unfortunately that wasn't the case. But a lot of the guys said that the game didn't come down to one play. Nick Sirianni said the same thing. Kelce, Jalen Hurts, these guys all know that it was just more than one play. But coming from a viewer's perspective, with the way the game was going, if like there was not many flags being thrown, and to sit here and say that guys are getting away with a lot. I mean,
do you feel like there should have been more flags in that game then?
No, because with the way that game was going, it was perfect. The referees were like, okay, we're just gonna let these guys play one last game for all the marbles. Just everybody just go out there and play. Unless it was obvious, like, and it was like a play, like a flag you can't miss, and you can't not throw that flag. Pretty much the game was perfect throughout. But I feel like, yes, like I said, the James Bradbury and Juju thing was a hold 100%. But I just feel like in that position, you just kind of have to let that one go with the way the game is going. And how do you want to be remembered for coming out of a Super Bowl? Coming out of last year's Super Bowl, there's the same exact situation happened to the Bengals, where I believe it was like 3rd and 9. The Rams are marching down the field trying to get a touchdown and go up 3 or 4 points. Cooper Kupp down the middle, incomplete pass. Next thing you know, a flag is thrown. It's a holding on Logan Wilson, and we know how that ended. And now we know how this game ended. And pretty much, I just feel like we were robbed out of an all-time game. We were robbed out of an opportunity for Jalen Hurts to, put the stamp on his career and solidify himself with a legacy championship run. And regardless of what happened, of course, we all know it doesn't come down to one play. Regardless of with that, the flag being thrown, it was a great game all around. It was very, very entertaining, very, very high scoring. That's all we can ask for. But right call, wrong timing is kind of where I'm at with it. You kind of just have to let that one go. Just let the game play out how it's supposed to be. And to be honest, the refs, they can't win in that situation, because if you don't throw the flag, people from Kansas City or people from the media are going to say the same thing. Well, you kind of missed an obvious call, or you kind of missed a call that pretty much changed the outcome of the game. And the Philadelphia Eagles and their fans and the media are saying, well, you kind of have to let that one go with the way the game is going. We kind of wanted to see Jalen Hurts come out and march down the field and give the Eagles opportunity to win or tie the game. So, overall, it was a good one for the Chiefs. And, I feel like we said it all year that the Philadelphia Eagles had a Cinderella story run, and with how they made it to the Super Bowl. But I feel like, a lot of people just don't shed enough light about the Kansas City Chiefs and their run with the way their season started since, going all the way back to free agency. Like Abdi said, when you lose a guy like Tyreek Hill, a guy that's, been a key part of your offense for so long, it's always been Mahomes, it's always been Kelsey, it's always been Tyreek, and you lose that, and you go into a season where you don't necessarily have a true wide receiver one, but you have your own reliable weapon in Travis Kelsey, and you somehow, some way secure the number one seed in the AFC. You secure an AFC championship game at home, and you win that game, and you win another Super Bowl, which is the second in Mahomes' 5-year run. He capped it off with a Super Bowl MVP. Like I said, man, he's setting himself up to be one of the greatest of all time. And to get back to the debate between Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes, if the Super Bowl was your very first game of the season, Jalen Hurts had a better game than Patrick Mahomes. And I'm pretty sure we can all agree on that.
I mean, I don't think so. And the reason why I say that is just like Patrick Mahomes, like the time of possession and what he did with that time of possession is just ridiculous to me. Like the guy was absolutely surgical. That isn't like saying like Jalen Hurts wasn't great himself, but I feel like with the amount of time that Patrick Mahomes was given and what he did with it, I feel like he just was ridiculous, especially in the second half. I mean, to score 24 points in the second half, that's just crazy to me. I feel like I think it's just like a lot of it's coming from Philadelphia fans, like trying to leave with a silver lining. Like, hey, Jalen Hurts, at least he outplayed Patrick Mahomes, but I don't really agree with that. I feel like Patrick Mahomes was the better quarterback in this matchup, considering what he had in terms of on top of the fact that he had an injured ankle. And second of all, like the time of possession, like to put up those numbers in 13 minutes is crazy. Like he was a better quarterback in my eyes.
I agree, man. Playing on one leg off a perk, going into that half, coming out that half, playing like.
I mean, I literally heard I just
Brady.
listened to his mic'd up thing. Patrick Mahomes,
Crazy.
The guy was literally in agony when he rolled the ankle.
We seen him make that 30-yard run down the middle, just galloping like a white horse, just going crazy. That's Patty P for you, man. I'm sorry. And Kelsey was hurt that second half too. We're forgetting that he's missing his number one tight end. He was barely involved in that second half, and they scored 24 points.
I'm not trying to sit here and take away anything from what Patrick Mahomes did.
I'm not saying.
I feel like he was a better quarterback though in this matchup, but Jalen Hurts, he was excellent himself. So.
I don't think anything that Patrick Mahomes did is beating 374 total yards and 4 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion.
I mean, when you put up 180 yards, 187 yards in 13 minutes and 3 touchdowns, I mean that's ridiculous, man.
It's tough to beat, man.
He literally got a quarter's worth of time, basically. That's it. That's crazy.
It is crazy to think about. And speaking of time and possession, in the second half, of course, the Eagles try to continue that same game plan, trying to keep the ball away from Patrick Mahomes, but Mahomes just made the most out of every opportunity he was out there on the field in that second half.
I think they scored on every possession, right? I believe on every second half possession they scored.
Yeah, I believe
I think they had 4 drives, and it was like and then the field goal to win it.
Yeah. So pretty much every time that the Chiefs stepped out on the field, they got points out of it, and it didn't matter whether or not the Eagles were just going to get the ball back and run 8 minutes off the clock. Regardless, at some point, the Chiefs knew that, we're going to get back out on the field. And when we do, we're scoring. And, of course, Kadarius Toney's punt return,
I forgot about that.
That was a big play.
That helped a lot. It put them in the red zone position. And, of course, the Chiefs were able to capitalize off that. But, with the defense being very, very poor, it's cool to get fooled one time. Like, it happens, right? You leave a guy wide open and they end up scoring. But as a defensive coordinator, you have to come back and watch the tape and
Arizona
readjust.
gotta rip up that contract, man.
Like,
ASAP.
I honestly don't know how. I understand why their offensive coordinator is now the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. He's, the way the plays were going and what we saw from the Eagles this entire season, that's a job that's very, very well deserved. But this defensive
Speaking of that
coordinator
guy,
guy, like,
yeah, go ahead about the defensive coordinator.
I honestly, I don't know how this guy with his resume and what we just witnessed in the Super Bowl was good enough for him to get that job. But I'll let you go ahead, Big H.
Now, I just want a little piece about the offensive coordinator. I think he wants to, draft Bryce. What's his kid? The Bryce Young kid from Alabama.
Bryce Young, yeah.
Yeah, he's already looking forward to taking him. He wants to move up, talking about he's a great quarterback. He has Jim Irsay saying the same thing. So, yeah, set in stone, man. We might be seeing a nice offense on the Colts, but the defensive coordinator though, a different story.
Jonathan Gannon.
A different story.
I honestly don't know how that's gonna work with him and Kyler Murray, man. That's gonna be another guy that gets run out of Arizona. And of course, I feel like we have to talk about the field and how bad and poor the conditions were.
Second half was pretty bad. Second half, like, remember, I don't know if you guys remember, just to start, felt like everybody was slipping. Like Pacheco, like Elite on his first down run near the goal line, he slipped. There's a bunch of just like falls in the second half. It was bad.
I don't know what they're doing.
But I think it was just players getting used to grass because this is like a special type of grass that they spent a while working on. But the field conditions weren't that great. But it is what it is, man.
Yeah, of course, I do believe that of course, with the field conditions being so bad, that did play a part on both sides. But yeah, for me to get back to what I was gonna say about Jalen Hurts, man, for me, I personally feel like, regardless, I've been watching this entire season. I feel like in this specific game, I do believe he had a better game than Patrick Mahomes. But if I'm Jalen Hurts, though, you gotta really sit back and think about it like this. You lost to the guy that took your regular season MVP trophy away from you. You lost to the guy that took the Super Bowl ring from you and the Super Bowl MVP trophy from you. This guy has to have some sort of serious hatred and animosity towards Patrick Mahomes going into next year. There's just no other way to put it.
I mean, there's a lot. There's a target on Patrick Mahomes' back every season, and now this is just another quarterback that has it on his list. It's even worse for Jalen Hurts because both the MVP, Super Bowl MVP, his ring, literally all of that straight to Patrick Mahomes. So that's another quarterback that has
inevitable, man. Like you can't run from it. Sooner or later he was gonna see him and he was gonna lose. He lost
now.
But I mean, man, to lose the MVP, to lose everything, he lost everything to one guy.
First team All Pro. He lost his first team All Pro to him.
And what can you say, man? When Patty P. Mahomes walks in the door, you got to hand everything to him. That's Big Debo right there.
That one hurts. And
now he lost his offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator.
But I feel like those things like that happen with Super Bowl teams. Teams always lose their defensive coordinator, their offensive coordinator when they're well constructed all around and they're a very, very good team. We see it all the time in San Francisco. They lose their defensive coordinator every year, and I feel like a lot of good teams always lose their OC and their DC. But one guy that I feel like should lose his offensive coordinator job and move up in the ranks is Eric Bieniemy, man, because I feel like he called himself a hell of a game, and especially in that second half. And for him, like you mentioned, Big H, for him to go back to 13, 15 weeks of film all the way back into that play where Doug Peterson called that for, I think it was Jamal Agnew in the red zone. That just takes a lot of skill, man. And I just don't understand why one of these teams don't, hire, Eric Bieniemy. Like, why are you keeping this guy who's an offensive genius alongside one of the greatest coaches of all time and Andy Reid? I just don't understand it.
But I do have a question though. There's a whole discussion going on about the quarterback sneak situation. Like, should like Richard Sherman brought this up, like it's literally such an unfair play because of the forward progress, and it's like such an unsafe thing for nose tackles and D tackles because like it doesn't stop. Like it's literally like 5 seconds of just straight pushing, and then they whistle the play dead. And I kind of understand where he's coming from.
Sherman, man, this been happening for 100 years. Man. Tell that guy.
Still though, it's such no.
You ain't got to
so, like coming from
like
it's so crazy to put someone behind the quarterback, have him push on top of the offensive line, pushing as well, and forward progress goes on for like 3 to 4 seconds. Like that's just ridiculous, man. That's just crazy to me.
let it rock. Let it rock.
That
It's
play is just
yeah,
that play is crazy.
it's a very unstoppable play. We see it all the time. We see it so often in Philly. We saw so much in the Super Bowl. These guys were always going their third down was like second down to them, and they
Yeah.
always went for it on 4th and inches, and always very successful. But in terms of the safety of the players, I feel like it's of course, like Richard Sherman did make a very good point. It's just not safe, for nose tackles and D tackles to be all the way down there at the bottom of the pile while these guys are
Just like piling on top of them.
piling on top of them for about 4 or 5 seconds long, just for the just for the team to get the first down. Because each and every year we see the NFL change the rules on the defensive side of the ball, trying to make the game a lot safer. But I feel like on the offensive side, it's not really changed at all. We keep roughing the passer. We see those calls. We see stupid calls all year long. Quarterbacks getting hit in the helmet one time, and next thing you know, it's a 15-yard penalty, automatic first down, and no more hard hits down the middle, helmet to helmet contact. That was smart, of course, due to the concussions and all that stuff. But I do think they got to take this play away specifically because, man, it's just so unstoppable and it's not safe. But I'm more so on the side that it's unstoppable. Like if it's 4th and 1, if you have like a guy like Josh Allen,
crazy.
Jalen Hurts, like it's a guaranteed first down. Like
Forget those two guys. Tom Brady made a living off of it. You couldn't stop it.
It just
See, that's why you got to keep it. Everybody can eat off it. It's not just certain
That's
people.
crazy.
no, but the safety
The
of the players.
the
man.
thing is that kills me is the
But
forward
stop with the
progress.
safety thing. This whole game is dangerous. We just see
The whole
Darren
forward progress
Hamlin
is the
was
one that
getting hit
kills
in
me,
the
man.
chest randomly, and he just dropped on the field, bro. You can't just say that one specific play that play is dangerous or not. The whole game is dangerous regardless of what happens or not. You're playing.
But this is a consistent play that happens every time, though.
It's like a little sumo tug, though. You're really not banging. It's
You
like,
are though. You have to.
It's a light tap, and it's just a bunch of pushing.
If you're a D tackle, but if you get,
they're just pushing though. They're not really hitting each other with helmets.
But you got to get low to try to stop him though.
Hey, they 300 pounds for a reason, man. They're big boys.
Well, there's 300 on top of them.
It's 300 on 300 on 300, and then you have Jalen Hurts is probably coming in 190, 200. Just at the top of the pile trying to move the chains. But yeah, I mean they do got to do something about that. Just simply because of how unstoppable it is. Every team's gonna do it. Every quarterback's gonna do it. But I'm glad that we were able to get ourselves a very good game, regardless of how the officiating was going. I feel like this is one of the better Super Bowls that we watched. I feel like these last 2 years we've had some very good Super Bowls, but this one definitely is a lot better than last year's, just simply because of how high scoring it was. But I mean, we did get a very interesting halftime performance. Rihanna, she wasn't too bad.
I think she was good, actually. I think she was very good. She brought out her entire catalog, and she could have kept going if she wanted.
I ain't gonna lie, I was in the kitchen.
Her bag was deep.
I missed the show.
Her bag is deep.
You missed the halftime show?
That's crazy.
I was in the kitchen getting seconds.
That's crazy, man.
That's ridiculous.
Rihanna's bag is deep, man.
Like I got YouTube for it later, you know what I'm saying? But food's not gonna be that.
Nah, it ain't hidden like it's live.
Nah, it's not. It's not him. Imagine watching last year's Super Bowl halftime show after. Like, come on, man. You just had to be there in the moment to watch that. I
haven't watched last year's either. I ain't gonna lie. I think I was in the kitchen again.
You're different, but
yeah.
I think overall it was a very good performance. I'm not gonna sit here and give a 5-6 minute analysis on what happened, but I do believe I feel like there was one very big missed opportunity on her part, though. I feel like she should have brought out Jay-Z for one of her songs, but it is what it is.
I thought you were about to say Kanye.
Oh no. Kanye it's just too controversial. And then Jay-Z was in attendance at the game, so I honestly thought he was gonna be coming out for just that one song, Run This Town. But overall it was a good performance. Overall it was a good game. Wrapped up our 2022 NFL season. It's gonna be a while. You see me wearing this beanie, wearing this hoodie, repping our teams. We got some basketball we got to talk about.
Yeah, definitely got some hoops to speak about, man.
Yes, sir.
But yeah. With that being said, any final words though, Hill, before we sign off here?
Man, it's good to see none of y'all teams win, man. That shit was amazing. It's good to see.
Aaron Rodgers going his retreat in 72 hours up to you. Good luck.
He's locked in, man.
Good luck. He's about to come out saying, I want to get the hell out of the Green Bay, send me the Jets, and he's going to move on for you guys, man. 18 years, though. How you going to feel after that?
Man, it's going to kill me, man. If he leaves, it's going to kill me, man.
It's going to be very painful. Well, for me, I'll be very excited.
I'm going to be laughing. I'm really going to be laughing.
I'm going to be happy, man. I'm going to be happy. But Yeah, man, that our first season together is in the books. 2022 NFL season. It was a very, very great ride, and of course we'll be right here to talk about the next season. But now we have some hoops that we have to get to. There's a lot that's been going on in the NBA these last couple of weeks, and we've kind of had to put that on pause due to the big game that just happened. But now that the season's over, of course we'll be right here to talk about all the hoops and everything that's been happening, what's been going on, coming up in our very, very next episode. So with that being said, we'll be signing off right here. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. Really appreciate your love and support. We'd greatly appreciate it if you like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at New Media Podcast. And for those of you that are watching us on YouTube, all of our social media handles will be in the end of this video. And for those of you that are listening to us on Apple and Spotify, if you go to our Instagram page at New Media Podcast, you'll be able to navigate yourself to all of our social media handles there. So once again, thank you so much, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Record a new hit, then we making us a film. Wouldn't sign a deal if I got a couple mil. Been in the lab, now they throwing out deals. Me and now Lakes, now that's overkill.